How are you guys doing today? I hope you're doing so well, and I am really excited to be back today with a new sort of video. I've not filmed one of these videos before, but I thought it'd be fun to share with you some brands that I have been looking for and that I'm going to continue picking up as we head into winter. And a lot of the time I do a lot of my sourcing from the Goodwill outlet, the Goodwill bins, where you're paying so little for pieces that you're going to be reselling. So today's video is going to focus on 10 different brands that I'm going to be looking for and picking up from the bins for winter, and it's going to be a good video. It's going to be a lot of fun to share with you guys some brands that have sold well for me and that are more like winter themed that should do really well for you guys as well. So if you don't know me, my name is Bekah. I'm a full-time reseller on Poshmark, and I'm going to be reselling all of these things, all these different brands I'm talking to you guys about today on Poshmark. So these are things that I'm going to be picking up from the bins, about $1 to my Goodwill outlet. You pay $1.49 per pound. Then you check out, you weigh how much you got, and you pay very little for the pieces. It's a very economical way to get inventory for your business. So we're going to focus on that today. But I have 10 different brands that we're going to talk about in the video. So let's jump into the first one. Now, this first brand that I will be picking up for the winter and that I indeed pick up every time I see it in the bins, as long as it's in good condition, is North Face. The North Face is an outerwear brand, and they also make other things, but I'm definitely talking about their outerwear when I'm talking about North Face in this video. All the North Face pieces do really well for me, but if you can specifically find puffer coats, jackets, things like that, even like a pullover. I've also sold quite a few North Face zip-up jackets that do well for me as well. But for like a pullover or just like a sweater kind of North Face thing, I have sold them anywhere between like $35 and $50. I have sold outerwear pieces like coats and jackets, specifically if they're in a limited edition like series or color. I have sold them between like $50 and $100. So definitely a good brand, especially if you're picking up in the bins. You're paying maybe $1 or $2 for the piece, and so getting $100 for it is wonderful. So the North Face, definitely a good brand. Love picking them up, and I do think that resellers pass on them quite often because it's just something that you kind of think of as like a Nike or an Adidas, and Nike and Adidas might not sell as well, but the North Face definitely does. So don't sleep on it. That's the first brand. Brand number 2 that I'm going to be picking up this coming winter and right now in preparation for winter is Woolrich. I pick up Woolrich all the time. I love finding vintage Woolrich pieces. I have found quite a few different like fleece, kind of quarter zips and sweaters lately in the bins, and I've picked those up and I resell those between $35 and $50. Now, if I can find a Woolrich like vintage piece that has some sort of like Christmassy scene, they do have different like knit pieces that are really fun. If you find a Woolrich piece that is like a more interesting or like a knit like that, those can go from like $50 to $100. So Woolrich is definitely a great brand. It's usually made out of wool, as the name implies. Sometimes it's cotton though. It can be misleading. So I would be on the lookout for Woolrich, but Woolrich is a good one to be on the lookout for, and oftentimes I find it in the bins. It doesn't look like a super interesting tag. A lot of the pieces don't look super interesting, but they always do sell well for me, so I would definitely suggest picking them up, and they're really good for fall and winter. This next brand is a brand that some resellers have not been like picking up as much because they think it doesn't sell as well. But maybe it's just since I'm new in the game, but I am always excited when I find Patagonia. Patagonia sells really well for me, and it sells so freaking quickly. I literally can put something up from Patagonia. I guess I should qualify this. If I put up anything from Patagonia that is a more like recent style or something that I can find a stock photo for, it sells like within the same day, sometimes within the same week, but it does not sit very long. Now, if I find something that's older, maybe a vintage or maybe like a really weird kind of color or something, sometimes it can sit a little bit longer, but it sells. I don't think I have any Patagonia outerwear pieces that have sat. That might not be the case for like a t-shirt or a long sleeve, but for their Los Gatos brand or the Cinchil, I'm thinking like pullovers, I'm thinking puffers, puffer vests, puffer coats, and even like their vests, the Cinchil vests. Those all do really well, anywhere from like $50 to $100 again on the whole, and they really do go quickly, which is great. I even sold a puffer vest from Patagonia that I found in the bins. I found a lot of Patagonia in the bins. I don't know why. I just picked up a piece like a thrift haul or two ago in the bins that was a nice little Cinchil that I found a stock photo for, and it sold for $60 within the same week. and I paid $1 to get it. So that's great. But I also in the bins have found a puffer vest, which is, you know, great, but it had even like a little logo embroidered on from a company. And I still sold that within the same week. And I think I sold it for like $35. So a little bit less than normal, but it's good to know that even sometimes things that are marketed to a specific brand or company will still sell. People don't care that much. It's just like the piece that they're looking for. So that's good to know. So I would pick those up, especially in the bins. They're worth it, and see what you can do because those should still sell well for you. Now, this next brand is a brand that I've only found in the bins and I've only found more recently, but I think that they are going to do really well for me coming into the winter. I'm excited to keep on looking for them in the bins, and that is the brand Young Fabulous and Broke. So Young Fabulous and Broke, they make a lot of really cool like tie-dye pieces, and a lot of them come in sets. So I found one set in the bins already that I have sold. I think I sold the whole thing for like somewhere between $50 and $100. And a lot of times those sets will go for that much money. But it's also easy sometimes to just find the sweatshirt or just find a crew neck or just find the lounge pants, like a sweatpant. And that's what I think too is really popular going into the winter is loungewear. And so this hits that trend right on the head. We have all been loving wearing our loungewear, and these make really cute sets. And so I find Young Fabulous and Broke a couple times now in the bins, and I'm going to keep on looking for them going into winter because I think that those are going to do really well. So be on the lookout for that kind of tie-dye. It's really easy to spot in the bins too because it's such a unique look to it. And so I definitely think it's worth looking for. If you see it, I would grab it for the winter. And a lot of their stuff runs oversized as well, because another thing for reselling is the bigger the size, usually the better it does. But even in this size, I think a small can do really well because it is oversized. So love this brand so far, and hopefully I'll find some more of it in the bins coming into the winter. This next brand is something that I find all the time in the bins. I don't know if I've picked up this brand even at a regular thrift store in a long time. I don't know why, but I find it in the bins all the time, and a lot of people leave them. And that is UGG. UGG boots, UGG slippers. I literally will pick up UGG. I just pick it up because it sells well. As long as you can find it in okay condition. I have left behind some UGG boots before that are just too torn up. Basically, my limit is like holes. If there's a hole in it, or if like there's a tear, that's kind of the limit for me. If there are some water stains, usually you can get those out. So if there's like salt stains and water stains, you can get specific like cleaners for UGG boots. And honestly, it might be good to invest in a cleaner. If you are a reseller, I should probably just get invested into a cleaner so that I can pick up more UGG boots because they sell really well. More than $50. They definitely are expensive boots in the beginning. Their retail prices are like $128, $158, $198 between those numbers. And so when you find them in the bins for $1, I have sold so many pairs of UGG boots I got in the bins for over $50, for $75. I'm constantly selling UGG boots, and heading into the winter, people are gonna be wanting their UGG boots. And also something not to sleep on are UGG slippers. I have picked up so many UGG moccasins and slippers, and those sell for me just as well as the boots. I have sold every pair of UGG slippers I have listed, and all of them for over $50. So not too shabby, and a lot of times people will leave the UGG slippers because they think they're not worth as much as the boots. But honestly, they're about the same. Like the boots can go for more because obviously boots usually cost more, but the slippers, even if they're in like okay condition, will sell. So especially if they have a hard bottom. So I'm gonna be looking for those in the bins for sure, and you should too. This next thing I'm gonna be looking for in the bins are Victoria's Secret bathrobes. I picked up so many Victoria's Secret pink bathrobes in the bins. I always find them in the bins. Sometimes I find them with their belts, sometimes I don't find them with their belts. But even so, I pick them up and I resell them all the time for like $35. They're not gonna be your biggest moneymaker, but they sell quickly. They sell so quickly, and I don't know why, especially heading into winter, it should sell well. But I have sold them, like I've sold at least 4 or 5 of them at this point. I have 2 more that I'm about to list because they just sell quickly. And I'm not mad at it. Like I will take that sale. It's not a very high one, but also it's a really quick turnaround, and because they're so fluffy, they're not very heavy. So I would pick those up in the bins anytime I find them. Now, the next thing that I would be picking up in the bins if I find it this coming winter is not really a brand so much it is a category, and that would be vintage sports crew necks and windbreakers. I find these all the time in the bins. Sometimes they have stains, sometimes they have marks on them. lots of times they come out. I pick them up all the time, and Jeremy and I resell them so often. I would say the majority of Jeremy and I's sales each month comes from me selling vintage items. A lot of those vintage items come from sportswear items. So we're selling hundreds of dollars of vintage sports team apparel. Fall, winter, and spring, when there are sports teams like actually playing, those are the big hot times to be selling pieces. So I would definitely pick them up right now. Fall and winter, perfect time. But I'm talking like really cool vintage crew necks especially do really well for us, $35 to $50 each piece. And then a windbreaker can do really well. So if you find a vintage windbreaker, something that has like, you know, a cool logo on the front or on the back, can sell anywhere between like $50 and $100. So definitely worth picking up. And a lot of people don't pick up sportswear unless they're, you know, like the grungy dudes in the bins. You know exactly, everybody has a grungy dude at their bins. Am I wrong? So unless they're them, I feel like a lot of, at least in my opinion, a lot of women are passing on those, and you should not be passing on them. Get some familiarity with some sports teams and figure out which ones are looking cool and then grab them. Item number 8 that I am going to be picking up in the bins in the winter are these Irish and Icelandic sweaters. I have been finding a lot of really cool made in Ireland sweaters that are chunky, fisherman sweaters. I don't know, they just do really well. If they're made out of wool, like a chunky wool sweater has been selling really well for me lately. And I know that there are a couple different brands. This is more of a category as well. But I'm thinking of Craig Dawn, and that's a really popular one if you find that one. There's some other ones like that, where it's like Erin Markets, things like that. Those sell really well. Over $50, usually right around 75, a little bit lower, sometimes a little bit higher. That's what you're expecting for that kind of a thing. But in that kind of like Icelandic, Irish look is Fair Isle print as well. And just all those things together. If you find something that's a chunky knit from Ireland, or something with a Fair Isle print from Ireland, or just like a more like old vintagey kind of looking piece, those sell really well. $50 to $75 for those for sure. So I would definitely be picking those up. If I find those in the bins, I get really excited because I know that they sell well, and this is the perfect season to be picking them up. Brand number 9 is Ralph Lauren. I love finding Ralph Lauren just in general. Anything from Ralph Lauren sells well for me. Also, I made my own earrings. Do you guys like them? I think they're really cute. But anything from Ralph Lauren sells well for me, but specifically what I'm going to be looking for coming into winter are vintage Ralph Lauren pieces that are also knit. So like a knit sweater from Ralph Lauren that is older does so well. I picked up one vintage Ralph Lauren knit sweater from the bins, I don't know, I think last winter, and that sold for $150 for us. It was really cool. It's definitely a more desirable piece. But anything Ralph Lauren I pick up in the bins, but also specifically vintage or chunky or knit pieces do really well. Specifically knit. If you can find a knit Ralph Lauren piece, I picked up one recently from an actual Goodwill for like $4 and I sold it for I think $50. Something like that. Still worth it. Like a chunky knit Ralph Lauren piece is worth it, and I would definitely pick it up. Especially, I'm going to be looking for those in the bins. Oh, I'm so excited. Then brand number 10 of what I'm going to be looking for in those bins for this winter is Theory. Now, I have found 2 amazing Theory pieces in my local bins, and they were so freaking good. They sat for so long. I had them up for months before they sold, but then they did sell and they sold for a lot of money. I found a Theory leather jacket in the bins that sold for $125, and I sold a pair of Theory leather pants. I think we sold those for like $85 or $90. So both things I found in the bins. I am just on the lookout for Theory leather pieces. I'm on the lookout for Theory outerwear and Theory leather pieces because they sell well. Even if they take a long time to sell, I've got the room now that we have a house to be able to store things like that. But I'm definitely going to be looking specifically for Theory leather pieces because those have traditionally sold well for me. But also if I find Theory outerwear or Theory sweaters, something like that in the bins, cashmere, things like that, I'll definitely be picking them up because they are very good and they sell for like $100. And I'm not mad about picking up a piece of clothing and selling it for $100. If you're mad about that, then you are definitely in the wrong line of business. So those are my 10 brands that I think you guys should be looking for this coming winter. Some good BOLOs for sure in there. And hopefully as you guys head to the bins or even to your local Goodwill, you'll be able to find a couple of these pieces If you guys do happen to find any of these pieces, shout me out on Instagram. I'll leave my Instagram handle down below. Please go ahead, follow me and message me. I love interacting with you guys over there. Make sure you guys are subscribed. If you guys want to see more videos like this particular one, then make sure you give this video a thumbs up and also let me know in the comments. But I thought this was a fun little chatty video. I love just sitting and chatting with you guys. It's kind of my strong suit. Giving hauls is fun, but I love just getting to interact with you guys. It's just the best. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I hope you guys are having an amazing day. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And until the next video, bye.